Hi, alumni of HSBE. Today I'm going to talk about the economic forecast for the good old United States for the rest of 2014. So I want you to walk with me through what I think the world will be for the United States. So first of all, every economy follows a business cycle, and if you could remember, we were down in the past the trough in June '09, and we're heading upward, and there will be at some point in the future where there'll be a peak, and then it will go back to a recessionary period again. For the time being, we have the expansionary period, and the trillion-dollar question I have there is, when will be the next peak? So right now we are in an expansionary phase, and that's a good thing. The gross domestic product for the first quarter of 2014 was about 1% below, negative 1%. Actually, I saw the report today, and it was adjusted to a worse number than that, nearly 3%. So we are hoping that the next three terms from here, second term, third term, fourth term, they will be much better, so that it would have a positive annual growth rate. Okay, so this is the forecast. If you look at this bar here, see here 2.8 is our forecast, roughly 3.0 for the 15 and about 3.0 for 16. So even though we had a negative growth in the first quarter, I believe that the next three quarters will do much better. And we already have the second quarter, it's just that we don't have the data yet fully, but we'll get it very soon. All right, let's look at another variable called real disposable personal income, see how that's performing. The dark blue bars represent the percentage growth in real disposable income. The light blue represents the percentage change in spending. Notice in April the spending went down, but if I'm forecasting positive, then I believe that spending will increase for the rest of the year. So we have to keep tabs to see how people spend their money. Don't forget why I look at spending, because spending determines if people spend, and if they spend, the country grows. Now, employment, if you look at the employment rate, it has fallen to 6.3 for the country. This is a nice turn. Nobody had expected that would ever. You all remember when it was up to 10%, but now it has fallen to 6.3. Now, this chart shows that the non-farm payroll employment over the month, and you notice every month it's all positive, and it just says not the same amount, and sometimes a little lower, but that's a good sign that every month you could see we're adding jobs. Now this chart shows job opening rate over time, and it is positive, and it is increasing slightly. This chart gives a more realistic picture. It shows the hiring and the separation. Separation is a nice word for saying they let you go or they fire you. And you notice that these are roughly the same. That tells you that the long-term unemployment rate is not improving very, very much at this point in time, because as you hire, you're letting go roughly the same amount of people. I'm sure the characteristics of the job type is changing, but that's just how the numbers flow. Now, we like to look at the current account balance, because that tells us about monies coming in, monies leaving our country over a period, usually a year. And so we have the balance of income you see here. I like to look at the blue line because there's a lot of data here. Notice here, this is the balance of the current account, and it is actually reducing. That was the Great Recession, and it went back up. And whenever, by the way, it's all negative. It says that more monies come in than go out. Okay, so we actually have to watch this carefully, and notice that import bill is larger than the export bill, so we have to pay for those, and the way to pay for those is to borrow money from overseas. So this chart tells you that we love our imports and more monies are coming in. This chart reinforces the next one, shows you about investment capital. Notice Foreign owned assets in the United States, it's a whopping 26 plus trillion dollars. Remember, I said trillion. And down here, what assets that we own overseas is about 22 trillion. So there's a gap of about 4 trillion, and that gap is widening. So it says that more foreign owned assets are in the United States than we own overseas. Now, we never look at this as a really, really bad thing, because we use the assets to create jobs and grow the country. These economic forecast outlook come from the conference board. There are two. There's the leading indicator, and then there is something called the coincident economic index. And this one simply says the data reflects what will happen today, and this one says the data reflects what will happen in the future. They lead, but they both give you an upward movement about the economy, and that just says that we believe that the economy is going to grow. And that supports my first statement about from the GDP growth that you have seen the forecast. The CEO confidence from the conference board also show that CEOs are thinking that the world is going to be a better place. It went from an index of 60 to an index of 63. It's quite good. Anything over 50% is optimistic. And so that says CEOs in our country on average think that things are getting better. That index is very important because CEOs in our country make billion-dollar decisions. Now, consumer confidence is critical. So we have a consumer confidence index by the conference board. And it says improved moderately in May. The index now stands at 83 from 81.7. So that's a slight increase. All right. The value just shows it went up. Sorry. The present situation index, that's how people see the world, is from 78.5 to 80. So it went up a little bit. And then, of course, the expectation index went up a little bit also from 83.9 to 84.8. So all these three indices are predicting that consumers are feeling a little bit better about the future. I took another index from the Gallup, and they have an index. Notice this was October, and their index, the negatives just say that it's improving. Their index runs from negative 100 to positive 100. So just look at the trend, it's heading upward. Now, another variable that we look at is inflation, and it's measured by the Consumer Price Index, CPI. And see, notice how it behaved when you had the Great Recession. That was almost deflation. Then it went up to 3.2, and now it's around 1.5. And we are saying that 1.5 is not as good as we'd like. We'd like maybe 2 or closer to the long-term average here of about 2.4. So inflation encourages profit and generation. So no, I don't mean overall inflation. I don't want you to get me wrong. I just meant that a little more inflation could trigger, stimulate profits. Energy is quite something in the United States these days. We have had a lot of natural gas and oil, and we have been able to produce a fair amount. And so, see here, industrial production expands over the 10 to 15 years as the competitive edge of low natural gas provides a boost for the industrial sector. So where our energy is based on natural gas, and natural gas has been produced, and it is actually getting to a point now where we can even consider exporting natural gas. But we have now a lot of these light duty vehicles. Efficiency is really good, lots of great miles per gallon, and so we're improving and the residential use of electricity and energy. So all of this show that this will help us to grow. Now, real estate has always been a very important measure for economic growth, and we are projecting that the demand for homes will increase. Forecast interest rate is between 4 and 5 for the rest of the year, 4 or 5%. We are looking at government regulations if they can accommodate the requirements for tax, make it easier for real estate industry, and any policy on immigration. And the question is, why immigration? Well, because a lot of the people who work on the houses in the United States come from Central America primarily. So if we start to expand construction, there may not be enough people. Then, of course, if we bring in new people from Central America and other countries of the world, then they have to be educated to build these houses. Another criterion that's causing trouble is credit. Credit is the banks are still not making it easy for you to borrow. I guess they got burned, and so you have to have pretty good credit. So that is like a negative to some degree, negative and a positive, but you can't get money so easily. But still the demand for houses is increasing. Look at the rates over time. This is a 30-year mortgage, this is a 15-year mortgage, and this is a 5-year, 1-year adjustable rate mortgage. And notice they're pretty stable here, and that's why we kind of figure it might go up a little bit to between 4 and 5%. Here is the number that I was talking about, new single-family home. See here, when the recession, it dived, and now it's picking back up. So people are confident to lock in 30-year mortgages for new homes. The home prices, these were the days when, right before the Great Recession, everybody was all excited. It dropped, and then now the prices are picking up again. See that? So notice I have the Miami number. Miami is always higher. I have the 20-city composite, and I have the national home price index, 3 of them, and they behave very similarly. But we expect the home prices to go up. This just says what I just told you. So summary for the U.S., the GDP is expected to grow around 2.5 to 2.8%. Unemployment is heading downward. Your net foreign investment is increasing. We consider that good. Energy increase, the U.S. supply. We've been quite good with our natural gas. Real estate is picking up again. So I'm again optimistic for the rest of the year. And of course, I'm going to add this like my last presentation. I said we're optimistic. What does this mean for you in the United States? Will you create some personal wealth for yourself? As an economy grows, I like to see individuals grow. I like to see you guys grow. And again, I will always end with the same advice. In this process of living, try to enjoy a little bit of life as you go along. And then, of course, give back to your community, give back to your school, give back to your church, give back to your family if you see a need. And, of course, by giving, you receive also. So I want you to look at the United States as we're expecting good times for the rest of the year, and you need to figure out how you could benefit from that by creating personal wealth. All right, again, thank you. That was my overall view of the economy for the rest of the year. Thanks, and I'll talk to you again.